All right, welcome everyone to Sticks and Sips, the Drew Estate Virtual Happy Hour. Welcome to Big Episode 7. I am Frankie Drinks Moreno. I am your host tonight, where we're going to be talking all about spirits, and we're going to be talking about cigars. And tonight we have a real awesome lineup of people coming in. I got people coming in last minute. It's going to be freaking amazing. So with that said, stick around. You guys get a unique chance at winning a Pappy Van Winkle Pappy Van Winkle cutter by Zycar. These are one of a kind, guys. So all you got to do is submit a question to me or one of our guests. Hashtag Ask Frankie Drinks. Get it in the comments on the Facebook Live there. If first 5 that we pick out, well, not the first 5, but the best 5, I guess, or the most interesting 5, we'll pick out, and we got you a cutter. So Pappy Van Winkle cutter, fantastic. You guys get this beautiful swag item only available here. So tonight we're talking about some great things. So let's take a look at what the menu is on for the virtual happy hour. Well, our happy hour cocktail for tonight is a Boulevardier, so super excited about that. That's actually one of my favorite cocktails. And we're going to be sipping not only just Redemption Rye, but we're going to be sipping a whole mess of other things which are fantastic. And that's related to my first guest tonight, which be Dave Schmier. He's the founder of Redemption Rye and other great whiskeys and great spirit events. And can't wait to speak to him. We got Jack Spethman from Binny's up in Chicago for all people hanging out in Chicago. We got Jack coming back on the show. Tonight, we're going to feature, I think, just fantastic item. We got our Undercrown, our original, our Maduro, and we'll be talking about some with Pedro that I think maybe popping in and maybe talking about a little bit about that Undercrown history and that blend. I think it's going to be fantastic, and we got some real cool people in the Zoom lounge. So let's check into the Zoom lounge here tonight. All right, welcome everybody.
Evening.
How's it going?
Let's go around the horn there. Robin, welcome to Sticks and Sips.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I love that background. I'm telling you that right now. So Robin, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show. Super excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
I got my man Joey sipping on a copita already.
You can never start too early.
Joey's the creative director for Drew Estate, so we're super to have him on. I've got the man that needs no introduction, but the founder of Drew Estate. This is a founder's night. I should rename this show. It's founder's night. So we got the founder of Drew Estate in the house, Mr. Jonathan Drew.
What's up, guys? Looking forward to tonight. Looking forward to seeing Schmier and hearing all of his new adventures, because Schmier is the man. And Spethman, my man in Chicago. So I'm really looking forward tonight. Thanks a lot, Frank, for the invite.
Always a pleasure having you on. Got Jack Spethman all the way from Chicago in the house. What's going on?
Not much, just hanging out in the world's largest humidor that Robin helps us keep so nice.
It looks impressive, man. It looks impressive. By the way, Jack is about 2 feet tall in real life, and that humidor is 8 feet tall. So just to let you guys know. And then I got my man, so Jack, we'll catch up with you in a little bit. I got my man Pedro Gomez in the house. I'm super honored you're here, buddy.
Yo, I got right here what I need. So I hope that everybody get their drink on, get their favorite cigars, because we're going to be talking about your favorite from all times, the Undercrown line. So thank you so much for having the show, buddy. I'm so excited, and we're going to kill this one, bro.
Dude, super honored to have you on my show. I know you're really busy doing a bunch of events and stuff like that, so taking some time off to visit is fantastic. Mr. Dave Schmier, all the way from the glorious Northeast. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Been hiding in my basement for 3 months, and this seemed like a good way to get out.
Dude, we definitely want to pull you out of that basement, man, because you got some interesting. This guy's got some of the best tales, and we'll get to him in a second. But Dave, I've got to get to the drinking portion here, so you'll forgive me. So what's your cocktail for tonight? We're going to do a Boulevardier. So simplest of cocktails that you guys can make. You got a Boulevardier. Tonight I'm using a Redemption Rye. It's a 1 ounce, 1 ounce, 1 ounce, 1 ounce of Redemption Rye, 1 ounce of Campari, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. I'm using Carpano Antica, little orange rind. You can use an old fashioned glass or rocks glass, and hear the directions on that for those of you guys that are taking notes at home, because I know you guys like hit me up. It's like, hey, how'd you make that? Well, this one's super easy. Put all 3 ingredients in a glass, stir it, and strain it over fresh ice. Give it a little garnish, and instead of me talking you through that, let's show that beautiful cocktail footage. So a Boulevardier is a riff on a Negroni. We're substituting out the gin, substituted out for whiskey. So we're using Redemption on that, named after Erskine Gwynn, Piers and Henry McAloney's the founder of, not the founder, but the last owner of Harry's New York bar in Paris. And it appears in his book in 1927. And it's just a fantastic cocktail. It's boozy, it's sweet, it's bitter, sweet and bitter, just like your life. So this is like a perfect way that you can enjoy the real balance in the cocktail. And it's just fantastic. I love them as an aperitif. So with that, cheers. I've got mine right here. I hope you had a chance to make one. If you don't, make sure you get that recipe. Super easy. You can play around with the 1 ounce. You can add a 1.5 ounce. Some guys even go 2 ounces on the whiskey, and it just makes a really fantastic cocktails for you guys that are just learning about a bitter cocktails. Great way to start. Try a Boulevardier. As my friend Joey says, it'll change your life. So, salute. I'm gonna take a little sip. I hope you join me on that one. So with that, I want to introduce the very first guest that I have tonight. I'm fortunate to call him a friend. We've met over the years, going through like Tales of the Cocktail, WSWA, Spirit events. He's come down to Miami. He's been in my events. I've been at his, and he founded an award-winning marketing agency that worked with the spirits world. From there, he founded Indie Spirits, which is a traveling show kind of focused on small brands that are coming to market, and he really knows his stuff. And again, he, as I mentioned earlier, he's the founder of Redemption Rye, and he's also the founder of Proof and Wood Ventures, which brings out a whole new line of spirits, and got 20 years in the business. And with that, what can I say? Dave, thank you so much for being here, brother.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Dude, so tell everyone a little bit about yourself. You know, I mean, I call you the king of founders, because you just found everything, so.
A couple of things. Really hinges on not being employable. So you got to start your own business. And just kind of real quickly in the business, I guess after college and such, wound up managing and working in bars and restaurants, where I saw pretty much every bar promotion under the sun from either side of the bar, and thought, yeah, I could do that, but I could do that a little bit better. And the short story is, naive 20-something, I went to the people at Absolute, or the people at Seagram's who just had gotten the rights to Absolute in the US, and told them that all their promotional stuff was terrible, which is a really great, ingratiating way to get in their heads. And they actually said, you're right. And me and a group of guys put together a program for Absolute that actually was their first national sampling program. Won a bunch of awards, put us on the map. And we started a company called the Idea Foundation that mainly did beverage. We did a lot of work with Seagram's and Absolute and Chivas Regal, Budweiser, Alizé, of all things. After a while, like any good actor, you think you can direct. So started a vodka brand because that seemed like the thing to do. And learning about spirits as well as just marketing them along the way, just by, meeting great people and interacting with great people over the years. As you know, when you go out on the road, you meet some fascinating people who know 10 times more than you. And fortunately, there are a lot of generous people who kind of show you what you don't know. And starting a vodka brand, I found out pretty quickly what I don't know, in terms of distribution and sales and that kind of thing. And along the way, you meet like-minded travelers who are doing the same thing. People who went down to Brazil and decided that their life mission was to import cachaça to the U.S., or kind of back in the early 2000s when it wasn't a common thing, people who were starting distilleries with no roadmap. And so you'd run into them, trying to sell stuff, and you'd try and work together. And generally, at the end of a long day, you'd talk about, the challenges getting your independent brand out there. And that one of these conversations kind of turned into the Indie Spirits Expo, and which was, the idea was, how do we showcase our products? Because distributors don't want to talk to us, and hard to get into the retailer's hands and ultimately the consumer's hands. So the first Indie Spirit show was 3 of us, me and my vodka, Guy Dave with his cachaça, and then a rum from Nepal. And we did it in a pool hall in the middle of Manhattan, not knowing what to expect. And 200-300 people showed up, and they weren't just there for the cheap drinks, but to really find out like how average people can create spirits brands out of nothing. And that kind of had a organic movement. Every year it got bigger. Next year we had 20 people. The following year we had 40. We took it to San Fran. We're not allowed back there, but that's another story. And then my buddy Marty Duffy from Chicago, shout out to Marty, whether he's listening or not, came to the New York event and said, wow, this is cool. Can we do this in Chicago? So we did, and that one became the biggest one ever. And we've consistently done about 140 exhibitors from all over the world, all small brands, whether they be micro distilleries, contract bottlers like myself, people importing really cool stuff from around the world. That was Indie Spirits.
Well, I'll tell you this because as people get to know me as well, like I often refer to a lot of things that you've done and took guidance from that as well. When I started the Spirits Festival in Miami as well, and which you've been part of, and I thank you for that. And I've been part of Indie Spirits and what you do for small brands to give them a platform. It really gives the consumer the opportunity to try something new, and that really is, at the end of the day, how we elevate the entire industry. And I credit you and Martin, so I hope he's listening in, and because I enjoy hanging out with you guys in Chicago when we've been there, and that's like a Spethman specialty town there, so especially when we wrap up the night at Delilah's. So, but we won't really go into that right now.
Hopefully we'll be able to do that soon.
Absolutely. So, so Dave, talk to me a little bit about, cause I know about you, through the industry circles, you get to meet different people because, hey, do you know Dave Schmier? He's with Indie Spirits. I'm like, I haven't met him before, but I'm sure I will. He will, he was doing Redemption. And so a lot of people recognize Redemption Rye. In my opinion, you pushed the category, not that you invented the category, but you really pushed the category into the limelight. So let's talk a little bit about Redemption Rye and what that ride was like for you.
Well, mentioning, getting to meet great people along the way. And I think my first introduction to rye was, I was fortunate, I don't know, around 2000, 2001, to get to attend Cocktails in the Country event that Gary Reagan was doing at the time. And it was really one of the first kind of focused craft cocktail events, I think, kind of in our era. And, Gary, great guy, bartender, wrote the Bartender's Bible, and just had a passion for teaching others, both bartending and every aspect of it, from the practical to the metaphysical. And he just loved to show what he knew and share that. And he influenced a great amount of bartenders that went on to kind of build the cocktail culture as we know it. But I'm sitting there in the room with people much more talented than myself, and I had been drinking Manhattans at that point. I can't tell you why. But Gary introduced me to rye whiskey, and I love the extra dimension that it added to a Manhattan, which probably is the one cocktail I like more than a Boulevardier. I'm a very simple man. So I had this affinity towards rye, and rye really wasn't a very big seller. A lot of people didn't know what it was. And then kind of tying back to meeting some great people in the industry as you go along, and people who are trying to do similar things than you. I became friends with Mike Canbar, who is actually the co-founder of Redemption. And Mike had started a bourbon brand about 5 years before we did Redemption, and about 5 years before anybody wanted whiskey. But he had been having challenges getting his stuff bottled, and he built a little bottling facility down in Bardstown. And at the time, I needed a new facility to bottle my vodka. So I went down there and volunteered to be the guinea pig, the first product on the line. And well, the line didn't exactly exist at the time. It was about 1,000 square feet in the back of an auto plant's warehouse that he had rented. So you go into the warehouse and you walk past about 2,000 car doors lying on the ground, a bunch of tires, and you go in the back and he's got, a handful of lab equipment, a couple of tanks, and a tabletop bottle filler, and also didn't know how to get it all together to actually bottle anything. Fortunately, again, just friends in the business, I made one phone call and we wound up being introduced to Dave Pickerel, who was kind of in the middle between Maker's Mark and really building his own consultancy. And he lived 20 minutes down the road. He showed up and pretty much MacGyvered the whole thing together. Probably a longer story of how that happened in classic Dave Pickerel moments, but it was great to meet that guy and work with him. And so we did the vodka, and during that time, a couple of weeks, we were drinking a little bit of whiskey down in Kentucky. And we just had the notion of creating a whiskey brand. And we named our company, before we had anything, Bardstown Barrel Selections. And our initial goal was to find the choicest barrels of whiskey and bottle them under our own name. And even this is 2009, 2010, a little bit before the big bourbon boom, no one was really interested in giving us their best barrels of bourbon. And somewhere along the line, we stumbled upon the LDI distillery, which was the old Seagram's distillery, now known as MGP. And they gave us some samples of their rye, which is 95% rye, 5% barley that's in the Redemption bottle. And 2 years old, we tasted it out of the barrel and we were blown away. We're like, this stuff is great. And said, yeah, this is what we should bottle. And that's kind of how that came together. Another point of, I guess, thinking back, we were both pretty broke. And the bottle that became the Redemption bottle, which is now the Funk bottle, we bought from some company going out of business. And it turned out to be a really great classic bottle. Mike actually designed the label in about 24 hours after I came up with the name. and we took a flight to Vegas to the wine and spirits wholesalers show, and roamed the halls, and we wound up taking a bunch of orders, which was cool. And then we went back to Kentucky and bought 3 barrels of whiskey because that's all we can afford. And we did our first batch, which I think was about 60 cases. And we shipped that out right away, bought 10 barrels. And then that year, it just kind of snowballed. And we thought Redemption was going to be a side project, and the universe had other plans for us. So it was a lot of kind of learning everything that we were doing. At first, we were using 2 to 3 year old rye, which was readily available. And then we started selling more than we expected. I had projections for 5 years with the amount of whiskey that we had, I think that July, and we ran out by October. So then I bought all the rye that I could. Some of it was younger, some of it was older, and kind of had to learn how to blend it to get the profile we wanted from the different ages of the rye whiskey. And as you said, you kind of mentioned, the rye category wasn't huge at the point. We didn't invent the rye category. Obviously, it's been around for hundreds of years. We didn't really think beforehand that we would be such a big part of it at first. But there really was no competition out there. There were less than 10 American rye brands that you can really buy. And most retail stores would have 1, maybe 2 rye if they had any. And generally, when you mention rye to people, they would point to Canadian Club or Seagram's VO or Seagram's 7, which aren't really rye whiskeys. They're blended whiskey or Canadian whiskey. So it was actually a lot of fun because there was a real basic level of education that we got to bring to people.
Well, I think you guys did an amazing job, and kind of to fast forward, I think it's a lot of your ability to pivot very, very quickly with an ever-changing market, especially in rye. And that was kind of very early on when I, first got, like, hey, Redemption Rye, these guys are doing rye. Like, oh, this is fantastic. And kind of going from there. And then we get to the point where, so fast forward, I think 2015, you sell Redemption Rye, correct?
Correct.
All right. So, goodbye Redemption Rye. You guys did an amazing job, so I hope it did well for you. But you move on, to something brand, a new venture. So talk to us a little bit, or talk to me a little bit, or everyone that's watching, Proof and Wood Ventures. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, real quickly, we sold Redemption to the Deutsch family wine and spirits, and did a little work for them, and they took over, and I think they've done a great job keeping the brand out there and keeping the quality up, which was very cool to see. But it's also kind of cool to move on as things happen.
As a serial founder, you just couldn't like sit tight, right? You need to found something else.
Well, it was either move to the beach or start a new company. I chose poorly.
So with that, I'm going to have a little Redemption Rye. I'm going to have a little sip, and let's throw up a little slide of what is Redemption Rye. So before we leave Redemption Rye and say goodbye, you said it was a 95.5 mash bill.
Correct.
And I believe that the current bottlings are still the youngest, and there's 2 years. So I think they're still adhering to your recipe, correct? That's fantastic. I want to make cocktails with that all day, and I think that you hit it on the head of where you wanted that product to be, and I congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
But now, more importantly, is I've got some very cool things in front of me. Two are called Tumbling Dice, and one's called the Senator. So let's talk about like your launch of Proof and Wood Ventures, and should we talk Deadwood first?
Sure.
All right, so let's go with Deadwood first.
So, well, I'll talk proof and wood overall. One of the things that I've always done is source whiskey and spirits from other companies rather than distill them. And that's probably a whole other show, but you know, there was a time, or still exists, where there are some who would look down on that practice, although it is a time-honored practice in the industry. And people would talk as if it was, you know, as simple as just dumping stuff in a bottle, which sure, we can do that. But when you buy whiskey, you know, you have the ability to make it your own, even from the same mash bill, depending on how old it is and what proof you bottle it at. And a really great way to really understand that is grab a bottle of Redemption, grab a bottle of the Senator, Bullet Rye, Templeton Rye, because they all come from that same distillery, but they're all different years and they're all different proof points. And you'll see the different characteristics that'll come out. Redemption will tend to have, or at least when we were blending it, but I think they've kept it pretty much the same. There's a blend of 2 to 4 year old rye is generally what we did. And so you get that young rye would give it some brightness and a little extra spice and even some botanical flavors, where the older rye would give you the deeper rye flavors. And when you blend those two, I think you get a great expression. But so that's what you control as a bottler, the proof and wood. And there's other aspects of how you proof it down and how you handle the barrels as they're aging, which again is another course and something that I'm learning every day. So the idea was name the company Proof and Wood, and we're going to explore the different things that we can do. The first product, I don't have a bottle, neither do you, but that's okay, is our Deadwood Rye and our Deadwood Bourbon. Those were meant to be kind of everyday drinking whiskeys. I call them American table whiskeys. Drink them all day, drink them any time of the day. Retail $20 to $25 for a 750, and we do liters for bar service. And they're all good quality whiskeys. The rye is a blend of this rye and some rye that I get from Tennessee to give it a little bit different of an edge. The bourbon, the Deadwood Bourbon, is all a 75% corn mash whiskey. So it's a little bit sweeter, more classic bourbon profile. And those are real nice, because we get to, we get to have conversations with retailers and bars when they're looking for something at that price point. And then we get to do fun stuff around that, which is the whole idea of doing this, is to have some fun.
Well, I'll tell you that I did get a bottle somehow, some way, of Deadwood Bourbon, and you're absolutely right. It's gone. I don't know how. I think it had a hole in the bottom, but we got this Tumbling Dice stuff, which I want you to talk about, because this is Tumbling Dice, and it's a 4-year-old bourbon. And I personally, so Dave sent me a little token, and Dave, you and me, man, I think we're like separated by so much, by very little. In that I also have a little token. So those of you that have ever been to one of my events have gotten a poker chip that says Frankie Drinks on it. So for those of you guys that were lucky enough to steal one, congrats, man, because it's the only one I got. But this is your calling card, and I love that. So walk me through Tumbling Dice, because I think they're fantastic bourbons. And Jack Spethman doesn't know if they're at Binny's, but I will say this: I did spot a few bottles around there somewhere. So, talk about Tumbling Dice. while
Yeah,
I sip some.
Binny's has always been good to us, and I know Deadwood's there. Tumbling Dice, the first expression we did was 11 barrels of 11-year-old bourbon, which was kind of hard to come by. And the name originally came about as obviously kind of to go in line with the Deadwood poker theme, a little dice game there. And there might be a roulette rye coming out soon, who knows? But the idea that sometimes opening up a barrel of whiskey, especially an older barrel, is a little bit like tumbling dice. You don't really know what you're going to get till they land. Fortunately, I got some good barrels, and we were able to blend them. Some of them were sweeter, some of them had a real tannic note, but they all came together really well. But that was more of a one-off, one-hit wonder. And it was fun to do, and we sold them all before we finished bottling them. The Tumbling Dice, the Blue Label, they're both 4 years. Originally it was 3, but those are heavy rye mash bill, and again comes from the same distillery up in Indiana. 36% rye, 60% corn, and a little bit of barley in there. The standard bottling is bottled at 100 proof. My kind of go-to whiskey, what I like to drink myself, is kind of a spicier, heavier whiskey. And that whiskey is pretty much my favorite mash bill.
So I'm taking a sip of the kind of A being the Tumbling Dice at 100 and the Tumbling Dice at 110. And yes, it definitely has a little more spice note to it. You know, it kind of kicks a little bit on, I would call it the sweet caramel on the back end, because that spice kicks in so up front. So you get it kind of on the back of the palate versus the Tumbling Dice 100, which you get it a little bit sooner. But they're both fantastic. They trigger that salivation on it, and all I could say is cheers on another great product in the market. So with that, and I think you mentioned very briefly for you guys that could see it, the senator. I think there was a senator, the ambassador. I know I'm missing one, Dave.
So the quick story there. And the red bottle of the Tumbling Dice is a single barrel at barrel proof. We did about 30 of those last year. The Senator is kind of part of what I call the DC series that kind of came together. Originally started my distributor in DC. Again, another great guy in this industry who's been a friend for a long time. Came to me as probably 2014 or so. So we didn't know anything about the presidential election, but he grew up in DC, and no matter who won, the inauguration was always a great party. And the idea was, can you get me a 4-year-old barrel of whiskey and an 8-year-old, and we'll call it 1 term and 2 term. So I found an 8-year-old bottle of bourbon, a 4-year-old bottle of rye, and we bottled it as the presidential dram 1 term and 2 term. And we bottled that in 2016. Clearly, no one saw the divisiveness of politics getting to where it did. So it was really, we talked about the quality of the whiskey rather than if you want a 1 term or a 2 term president. And so we'll leave it at that. While it was a kind of weird circumstance, the product was really well received. And when I acquired some 12-year-old bourbon, it felt right to call it the Ambassador and kind of continue that series. So we went from there, and the Ambassador is a wonderful 12-year-old barrel proof that, again, really short supply. If you see a bottle, grab it. I might buy it from you. We also did the Senator, which is 6 years old, and like any good senator, is now for sale. So we got that. Do we have a rim shot there? And coming soon will be the Representative, which is a 4-year-old or older sweeter bourbon at barrel proof. And last fall, I did a small run. I think it was 10 barrels of 14-year-old Tennessee bourbon that we bottled under the name The Justice.
Well, listen, what you've done and what you continue to do is incredibly exciting for everyone that's out there watching about like whiskey, and you guys really want to know about like how great brands come to market and how you get your hands on something that's absolutely special. This is it. You're talking to one of the main guys in the industry that does truly amazing things. So if you see Deadwood tumbling dice, the senator, the ambassador, the representative, the page, that's probably the next one, right? We're doing a blended, the page.
I think we might pass on that one.
The congressional page, we're not doing that. And then we also have this craziness that he calls the funk. So so I'm gonna give you 1 minute to talk about the funk, because if people don't know, they just don't know, but they're gonna want to know. But tell me about the funk and why, Dave. Why?
Why? Well, why is longer, but the quick explanation of the funk, it's 100 proof, unaged, heavy pot still Jamaican rum. And the best way to describe it is it's funky. It's got some tropical fruit flavors. It's got some ripe vegetables in there. It's just funky, earthy, just a really cool spirit. And it's really, what I really love about it, it showcases that Jamaican style of rum, and it's also approachable. A lot of the Jamaican pot stills are mainly used in blending. Anything from blending into a sipping rum, you'll use some pot still and some column still. Some of the real heavy stuff is actually used in perfumes. It's just really cool stuff, and you could probably get a really good guest to just talk about that. But the funk itself was sort of an accident in the sense that I wasn't planning on bottling it like that. I bought some column still Jamaican rum that was aging in Canada for some reason, and I thought it would be kind of fun just to bring it to Kentucky and put it in used rye barrels. So I brought it down to Kentucky, put it in the barrels, and like 2 weeks later, we tasted it, and the flavor had been overpowered by the wood already. So I thought, let me get some pot still rum and we'll blend it together and create something interesting. So I bought a couple of containers of Jamaican rum and shipped it up to Kentucky. Ships up to Kentucky, warehouse manager calls me up, Dave, we got a problem. What's the problem? I've never smelled anything so awful. And to be fair, it was, a 300-gallon tote at 150 proof of this stuff. So he sent it up to me, and I tried it, and I brought the proof down and down and down until I got to about 100, and just loved the way it tasted. So grabbed the old Redemption bottles and bottled it as a funk. Meanwhile, we've got some of that same rum aging in Kentucky, and it's really good.
Well, I won't say, I think I got a sneak peek of that, but if you get your hands on the funk, Jamaicans call it hogo, and this is the best rum. If you ever want to make a banana daiquiri out of anything, this is it, because this has got the most amount of, and you called it fruit, vegetal, funk, all together in one. So Dave, congrats on another great project, and I want to thank you for just taking the time out to tell us all about, from Redemption, from Indie Spirits, from Tumbling Dice and Deadwood to the Senator and Ambassador and all that series, all the way to the funk. But now I've got to talk about cigars, man, because I know you're a cigar guy. So I'm going to give you a chance to puff away, because I know you've taken, so I know you need to retouch that one up that you got going. So I'm going to give you that opportunity, but thank you so much for being part of Sticks and Sips, and stick around because I'm sure we've got questions coming up directed right at you. So stick around. So, guys, welcome back. I'm completely honored to have Dave on, and now my man in Chicago waiting in the wings, man. So I got like Jack Spethman, man, with his like Mac Daddy freaking beard, just waiting, in that big ass humidor that he's got at the Binny's. Probably, it's not the Lincoln. What's my favorite store, Jack?
You love the Lincoln Park store. That's your candy store.
Yes, it is. It is. I've spent quite $1 over there. It may or may not have been my dollar, but I definitely spent $1 or two at that spot. So Jack, so everybody welcome Jack Spethman to Sticks and Sips.
Frank, thanks so much for having me back. I had such a good time the first time. I figured I'd give myself a little bit better of a view with the different humidor. But I get lucky on these. Every time you guys invite me on, you're asking me to smoke one of my favorite sticks and hang out with some great people, learn some stuff about whiskey. I can't complain.
Well, I'm gonna jump in right now. So for everyone that's watching that doesn't know who Jack Spethman is like, where you been, dog? This is it. You need to know Jack. So Jack, tell us a little bit about you, and tell us a little bit about Binny's.
So I've been in the liquor business for years, working at a couple different stores for Binny's for the past going on 8 years now. And the one section of our stores that I didn't know when I started was the humidor. So I took it on as a challenge and fell in love with cigars. And it's funny because the one cigar that dragged me in is the Undercrown Maduro. I kid you guys not. I know the GSC number, which is our product number for the Robusto, by heart. If anybody wants to test me, you can hop on Binny's.com right now and check out 44130. And that should be your Undercrown Maduro Robusto. Just saying.
Well, for everyone that's tuning in from Chicago, know what you got. You need to pop into Binny's, get into that humidor, and pick up. I've got like a little special pequeña there that I can't wait to light up as soon as I'm done. But I'm busy talking, and they don't let me do any fun shit while I'm doing this show. So, but with that, Jack, tell us a little bit about Binny's. What is Binny's, man? For everyone that's in the rest of the U.S. that don't know. By the way, if you don't know, Binny's is the shit.
I love to say it. We are one of the top 10 things to do in Chicago, as voted by a Facebook list. But yeah, we're a large small family business. So we're 42 stores in the greater Chicagoland area and a couple downstate. We've been open since 1949, 48. It differs a little bit, but we're going to say 49. It's a fantastic place to work for. We're on our second generation owner. Wonderful family, great atmosphere. And one thing that we really pride ourselves in is all of our consultants, whether it be liquor, wine, beer, or cigars, are well trained up. They're informed, and they're always looking for the next thing, something new, something fun to taste. And they're here for our customers. So if you have any questions, any concerns, anything, please come let us know. Customer service is number one to us.
Well, that is true. So I will say that, you guys, back in the pre-COVID days, you guys had the big whiskey event at your spot before Whiskey Fest. And JD, we'll talk about that later, about hanging with Dave Schmier and me and you, and then Jack, and then our good friend Dave Pickerel. But with that, so we've had some amazing times at the Lincoln Park store, my favorite playground in the world. If you ever do get to Chicago, this is the spot, man. Just know, have your credit card ready, because there's a lot of expenditures you're gonna make, from cocktail ingredients to spirits to modifiers to cigars. You're going to grab it all at that, and then you go around the corner, and I forgot, was it Lou Malnati's with Chicago pizza around the corner, or was it what's the other one? Jack, help me out, bro.
Are you talking like a Giordano's or a Gino's East? Or, I mean, there's a few pizza places in Chicago, just a couple.
Right, just a couple, but there's one right around the corner from the Lincoln Park store down the street, and I want to say maybe it's Gino's East.
It might be Gino's East. You're killing me because my favorite spot to go to after World of Whiskey is right across the street, and that's the Goose Island Brew Pub. Goose Island has some great food just right there across the way.
Goose Island, I'm telling you, you go to Chicago, this is the most amazing spot to go to, and you're gonna make your stop at Binny's. You're gonna load up on stuff. You're gonna load up your luggage. So bring an extra piece of luggage and pack it full of the amazing goodies. And Joey knows because I shipped him back some mezcal from Binny's, and he knows what that's all about. But
Yes.
Tonight's all about Undercrown. So Jack, I'm going to tell you, how does Undercrown do for your audience, for your customers?
Undercrown's been a solid favorite amongst all the customers as well as the consultants. I want to say it was going back a couple years. The first year that the Undercrown Sungrown was released, it made number one on our top 10 list that we put out every year as voted by all the humidor managers. I have nothing to do other than some work compiling numbers, putting the list together. And then what we do is we have our guys go out. I reach out to them. They write up a description, some of the things that they love about the cigar, some tasting notes, things like that. And all of those top 10 lists can be found on our Binny's blog, on the Binny's website. So if you want to go back a couple years or see what our guys are smoking, what they're really enjoying, it's always fun to check out those classic lists and even some of the ones that came out more recent.
Well, I will tell you, here's a shout out. I hope Joe Maloney is tuning in because he's my boy out there, but I know he's busy working the freaking spirits world. He's trying to work with the guys like Dave Schmier to get his brands in and finding shelf space and all the hundreds of different mezcals that they got, best mezcal selection they got in the world. I'm not even going to talk about whiskey because you guys own the category, out at Binny's in any Binny's, because we've done a couple of different events out there. So, but I've got somebody special tonight to talk about Undercrown. So first, I'm going to show up a little screenshot to talk about Undercrown. So, what is Undercrown? So the original Undercrown is the Undercrown Maduro. It's the one that you guys get, and you have it in multiple sizes. And you know that the binder is San Andres and Connecticut Habano. Filler is Nicaraguan and Brazilian, and we have a profile that's medium to full bodied, and it has its own mystique to it. And to talk about that mystique, I'm not going to talk about that freaking mystique. This is this is a pillar of Drew Estate. So who else am I going to bring in to talk about Undercrown than my man, Pedro Gomez? So guys, welcome Pedro Gomez to the show. Make sure to hashtag Ask Frankie Drinks. Make sure if you want to ask Pedro a question, ask him a question. Pedro.
Hell yeah, man. Yo, first of all, thank you so much for having me in your show, bro. I'm a number one fan. I know that there is one number one fan up there, but I'm the number one. I watch your show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. You guys bring everything from the spirit, bro. And my man Dave, thank you so much for all the good stuff that you're putting up there. I hope that everybody goes and find their favorite rye. My man Dave is in the house. So if you have any question, this is the perfect time to ask your favorite question when it comes to Ryan, the founder right here. We got Jack, my man with the goodies. He got all the cigar that you can think of. All my people over there in Chicago, we got you covered. And this is Drew Estate, because what we're talking about tonight, we're talking about the Undercrown. And what is the Undercrown? A lot of people have been smoking the Undercrown for the last 10 years. But one thing that Drew Estate doesn't take as a credit is when we put something out there that is so good, Drew Estate gives the credit to whoever get those credits from. So this credit of Undercrown goes to my people back in my hometown in Estelí, Nicaragua, back in my people in Drew State Factory. Basically, as Dave said, everything has a story. When we're talking about Riot, it has a story. When we're talking about bourbon, it has a story. Everything has a humble beginnings. And to me, I take the Undercrown to my heart because when that was back in 2009, and I remember this because I was working in Drew State Factory back in that time. So to me, I have been working in two different worlds of the underground of the Drew State universe. I have been working in the factory. Nowadays, I'm working here in the United States. But the thing is this, when it comes to the underground, that was a cigar that was blend and create by the rollers and the people that work in the factory because somehow in 2009, Liga Privada was so hot that we could not keep Liga Privada in the retailer shelf. So that was an executive meeting that took place in Nicaragua. And I remember it pretty clear, like it was yesterday. And we were so in love with the Liga Privada. The thing is this, when you work in the factory, you don't know what is happening in the market. So we didn't know that Liga Privada was becoming so big that it literally gives the title to Drew State as a premium cigar factory. So traditional one right there. So in the meeting, they say, hey guys, I know that you guys have been in love with this cigar right here, but you guys have to stop smoking Liga Privada. At that point, I was like, holy smoke. But one thing that gave us the green light was that, hey, you can use the same tobaccos of Liga Privada, but don't even think about to go into the grapper and stuff like that. And then, everybody start to look around. Was like, holy smoke, they take this good cigar that we have for nowadays, but we're going to come up with something because one thing that Drew Estate has, which is a huge advantage, is that we have our own factory. And when you have your own factory and you have a lot of tobaccos available to your disposal, so you can create something. And one thing that we did, we choose the San Andres Negro from Mexico, the Último Corte. Último Corte, that means the last prime of the tobacco plant. And basically, that's what the wrapper that we use on the Undercrown Maduro. And right in the binder, we use a very nice T52 Connecticut stack cut Habano binder, which give a lot of flavor to it. And right in the filler, we use a very nice Marafina tobacco that comes from Brazil. And of course, we use the Nicaraguan tobacco in the fillers as well. So what you got left, my man Frankie, which is something very good that you can pair that cigar with and all the spirit that you can think of, is that you got a very nice medium body Maduro cigar that has a lot of flavor that anybody can enjoy. And one thing that Drew Estate did was, what I say very proudly, is that he gave the credit to the rollers, the supervisors, the production chief, the quality control department, and everybody that at that time was in part of the blending process of building something that up to right now, Undercrown Maduro has been in the market for 10 years, man. That right there says a lot because Drew Estate is not a company that we come out with a new cigar brand every 6 months. Or whatever we put in the market, we do it because we love it. We do it because we have a lot of passion. We do it because we represent what the Nicaraguan cigar industry is all about. To me, I take that one to my heart. I was born and raised in Esteli. And the fact of the matter is that I start with Drew Estate from the very bottom. So, my man Dave, I relate your story to my story. Now, your story, my friend, it goes to the worldwide spotlight. To me, it was like more about going to work every day at the factory, doing whatever Rubio, who is the operational manager, asked me to do, and just making the best out of every opportunity that I can get. And nowadays, I'm traveling all over the world. I mean, all over the United States. Sometimes Drew Estate sent me to Europe to do these trade shows in Germany. And one thing that I really really make me proud. And to me, it's like being up there, not just checking people's hands, taking picture with other people, kissing babies. It's about, every hard work and all the sacrifice and everything that goes behind a cigar that we make in my hometown. So Undercrown, the Undercrown cigar, the Undercrown line in general, it's a cigar. Enjoy, can't quote me on this one. Undercrown cigar was a cigar that was made for the people, by the people. So Drew Estate is not a company that will take their name and put into somebody's last name or the family business and stuff like that. I think that Drew Estate goes beyond to what we might think, because what we see in our brands is a cigar that will last in a lifetime. And one thing that we make sure in the factory is to keep the quality and the consistency of this cigar. And that's what the Undercrown Maduro is all about. So I'm throwing my thing right here to Jack. He said that he loved the Undercrown Maduro. My man, thank you so very much, man. I got Chicago in my heart way before I came to Drew Estate because I was a big fan of Michael Jordan. And, in Nicaragua, nobody knew the United States of we all know nowadays. But Michael Jordan put Chicago in the map. And I'm very glad that you enjoyed the Undercrown right there, especially the Undercrown Maduro, because that's what I call right there the OG of the Undercrown family right there. So where are we pairing the Undercrown with, Frank?
So I'm gonna like whatever, bro. This guy's stealing my freaking thunder. It's like I knew I was thinking about whether do I freaking invite this guy because he's a freaking gold standard of Drew Estate or not. He got me so inspired. I lit up my own freaking Undercrown here just to freaking have it right now because I got so freaking hyped by his description of Undercrown. And yes, Undercrown to me is the gold standard. So as I was looking at Redemption Rye and Tumbling Dice and the Senator, I was like, yes, uh, our original, our Undercrown Maduro is
Absolutely,
perfect.
man. Yes.
So tell me, I know you're having a little redemption tonight. What do you think about the pairing?
Dude, you better believe me right here. So this one right here is a really good liquor. And actually, when it comes to pairing is the complement of having something to smoke and something to drink. So to me, when I'm drinking heavy liquors, nowadays, I start to enjoy more rye, and I like bourbons and of course rums. One of my things that I truly enjoy, which I got very funky with my man Dave and the funky Jamaica rum. That was a good one right there. Rum to me has a lot of flavor right there. And to me, I'm all about flavor, bro, because one thing when it comes to the cigar, especially when the cigar has been very complex and has the right strength that you're looking for to pair that cigar with something to drink, have to be a medium body or medium plus. And as a medium plus, my friend, I'm talking about the Undercrown Sungrown right there. The Undercrown Sungrown as well as the
Absolutely.
Undercrown Maduro, it pairs really extremely well with those heavy liquor that you can sip. The thing is this, man, I'm gonna throw a very funny joke. In Nicaragua, when you invite a Nicaraguan to your house party, you know, they are gonna drink everything, including your fridge. But one thing that I learned here is that, especially here in the United States, that when it comes to rye, bourbon, rum, and whiskey, it's about sipping. And I love the title of your show that is called Sticks and Sips, because rum, whiskey, and all the heavy liquor goes really well when you are sipping and when you are pairing that liquor with something really good that has a lot of flavor. That's when the Underground Sunground comes to the picture and it grabs your attention in a big time. Because the Underground to me is medium plus. The Underground Sunground came because of the tobacco seed that we use in the Underground Sunground, which is a Sumatra Sunground in Ecuador. When we're talking about Sunground, you're talking about open sky. The tobacco, it gives you that richness because of the sunlight. And dry in the factory, we put the T52 Connecticut Habano Stack Cut that give you that strength. And then one thing about the Undercrown Sun Grown is that the filler is 100% from Nicaragua. And one leaf, which is a ligero leaf that has been extra aged, that give the a very nice kick to the blend, that give you that sweetness and that strength that makes the cigar rounds very, very well with something that you are sipping on. And right now, this is Ryan and I. So I hope that everybody out there is having a good time, because we're having a good time. Everything is about learning. I'm learning from my man Dave. I'm learning from my man Jack. And at the end of the day, we learn from everybody. So I also would like to take the chance to thank everybody that is supporting Drew Estate, everybody that is having a good night tonight, because these times it could be a little hard, but the only thing that you got is the present. So you gotta live tonight as it is your last night. So we're talking about Raya, we're talking about cigars, we're talking about Drew Estate. And to me, I'm very honored to be the voice of my people in Nicaragua. The thing is this, Frank, I will tell you straight up, brother. In Nicaragua, by now, and that's a title that we have in the last maybe 3 years, Esteli, which is my hometown, is the tobacco capital of the world. So I don't take it from granted when Drew Estate, which I got my man Jonathan Drew in the house. The man really believe in myself, being a local guy from Nicaragua that has the desire to succeed and have the opportunity to be the voice, not just talking right here in the virtual platform to your audience on Facebook or even also on Instagram, but having the voice of the people that they come to work day in and day out to make the best cigar that you can find in the world. But to me, I take in that position to be the voice and talk to the retailers, to the end consumers. And to me, this is something very beautiful that we're doing right here, to share our passion and the love that we have for everything that we do. So, my man, cheers to everybody.
All right.
I hope that
So,
everybody having a good time right here, because I'm having a blast.
I, listen, when I need to take a week off, Pedro, you're going to take over this show. I'm just saying that right now. So cheers to you, my brother.
Hell yeah. This is Drew Estate, buddy. Step and
Exactly.
sips all the way.
So now, thank you, Pedro. Undercrown Maduro, the most, I believe, if you haven't had one, you need to have one, because you need to taste what the entirety, of the rolling floor wanted to produce for us. And it's their voice, their collective voice speaking to us through a cigar. And in that, I'm joining you early right now, because usually I don't light up till the end. But you got me inspired, Pedro. So thank you so much. And Jax, thank you so much. And with that, I'm checking into the Zoom lounge because I got some like really cool people hanging. So I'm gonna go with Robin St Pierre, who's our retail specialist for Binny's. What do you think of Undercrown, Robin?
I love Undercrown. It's one of my go-to sticks. I love the Maduro, the sun grown, and the shade. But definitely the Maduro and sun grown are my go-tos. When I don't know what to smoke, it's the perfect stick. It pairs well with a lot of different things.
It's truly an amazing cigar. Whether you're going shade, Maduro, and sun grown, and people need to kind of go experience all three of them and realize that they're very different from each other.
Oh, absolutely, bro. And you
And
know, one
go
thing,
on. Yes.
yeah, sorry. One thing that I want to say is this. When it comes to pairing, we got in the Undercrown, we got the Undercrown Shade, which is a very nice cigar that you can pair with a coffee in the morning. and right after lunch, and right, after dinner, you go with the Undercrown Maduro and the Undercrown Sungrown, and you got your pairing right here, which is those heavy, nice liquor right here, bro. Come on, man. We got everybody covered right here, bro. We are not joking around, right, Frankie?
No, we're not. We got something for everybody. Whether so I said whether it's a heavy bourbon, or it's a rye, or whether it's a weeded, whether it's a cocktail, a boulevardier, whatever it is, you got. There's an Undercrown for you, and that's the beauty of it. So with that, I'm gonna hit Dave Schmier because he's been hanging out. And Dave, I don't know what you're smoking tonight, but
Undercrown every day, all day.
My
which,
brother.
which one, bro? Which one?
Which one?
It's on the label, man.
Yo,
He took it off.
It's dark out here, man, and my eyes are old.
It is amazing, Dave. I'm glad
But I am
that
enjoying it.
that's beautiful, man. One thing that I want to say, and this one I want to say in a very humble way. When it comes about spirits and when it comes about cigars, the fact of the matter is that the end consumer take that finished product and they take it to themselves in their most personal and intimate moment. That's what life is all about. I'm very sure that Dave can relate to what I say right here. And I'm very sure right here, everybody that we're talking about, cigars and liquor goes with you in your celebrations and also in your down times in life. But at the end of the day, when you have something that you truly enjoy, that's when you call happiness, and that's something that you cannot even buy. Not MasterCard, American Express, Visa, and all the stuff can buy it from you. Happiness, it comes free as long as you really make that personal decision to love what you love. Is that right? Is that right, Joey?
Always, man. I mean, I'm sorry, man, Pedro.
You're not jumping on right now, Joey. You gotta wait.
He's tugging at my heart, man.
No, he is, because Pedro's the man. So I'm gonna jump on to Jack right here, bro. So Jack, we got Undercrown Maduro, Undercrown Sun Grown. We got like rye. We've got bourbon. What's your take on that, man? I mean, how are we pairing that with our consumer base?
I think it's all about what you like. When you buy a cigar, what you're buying an experience. You're buying an experience. When you buy a bottle of fine spirit, whether it be bourbon, rye, it's all about those times where you can sit back and you can enjoy. So for me, I've always enjoyed something with a little sharpness to it, like a rye with a Undercrown Maduro. If I'm going to go with an Undercrown Sungrown, maybe a nice easygoing bourbon. If I'm going to go with the shade, how about a cup of coffee? Just like Pedro said in the morning, cup of coffee, Undercrown shade. I can't think of a better way to start your day.
No, we did an Irish whiskey Undercrown show, and we could do a coffee Undercrown show, and we could do a rye whiskey. Because when I thought about like what rye represents to me, it was like Undercrown Maduro. That's the one. And then we grow from there to sun grown, which people need to experience to really get into, when you're moving into different things, and kind of having that experience. So I'm going to let JD here talk a minute, and
1
JD,
minute.
I've got
One.
you for 60
1
freaking seconds, bro.
1 minute. It's all he gets is one.
Tell me about Undercrown, because Pedro did the freaking most amazing job to talk about Undercrown.
Yo, I'm not going to talk about Undercrown right now. All right. So I'll stay under my minute, but Pedro hammered it home. I mean, we love Pedro because it's all about the heart and the passion and being from Esteli and understanding our factory, understanding our street, knowing where the Adoquin came from, where they made the cement that they put the floor in that we paid for, that the government installed, or the bridge that they built from the Central to Rosario or Oscar Gomez. All of our neighborhoods that connect on a day of Purísima, where everybody comes to the factory from our entire city to get treats and wonderful time, almost like our Halloween. And you see the factory, huge factory, 180 something thousand square feet, people wrapped around the factory of just celebrating and having a good time. You know, for me, the importance of Pedro is about our heart at Drew Estate and about what we convey when you smoke our belief system. You smoke it, you live it. And so I don't need to talk about Undercrown at all. What I will talk about is Schmier.
Look at that.
Look what I found.
That is a classic.
Yes, it is. You see, Schmier, I told you, I knew I had some still over here. This is Redemption Bourbon. And I only have a little bit left. It's quite good. And I just want to say thank you. You know, getting to know you throughout the years and watching you and seeing how you interact with your competitors, with the people who attend your events, your place within the world of spirits, and not just whiskey, but across the board. You know, I've learned a tremendous amount from Frank and Joey in this space. But watching you, I'd always was impressed. And sometimes you wouldn't catch me, but I would be chilling back at a show, at an event, and watching David Schmier do his thing, and always humble, always good to everybody. You never take shit from people because you have a lot of dignity and respect for yourself. I noticed that too. But having you on tonight with us on Frank's show on the Sticks and Sips was great. When I saw your name, this show 7 was going to have you as our featured guest, I was like, that's really cool. I respect this guy. I respect not just the actual final product that you come up with, because all of your shit tastes good.
Thank you.
But separate from that, from your integrity and the way you look at founding things, and so having you tonight, thank you for being here with us. For a lot of the cigar weenies out there and the cigar freaks and stuff, I knew they were going to go crazy when they talked about the funk. And I was on the Facebook while you guys were blabbering, and I was in, and all of a sudden the funk came, and Frank starts talking about the funk, and all of a sudden the shit lit up. People are like, I want the funk. Where do we get the funk? Can you ship it internationally? Does Binny's got? And they went crazy. And I knew the Drew Estate, you know, our listenership and our people who believe in us and who not just follow us, but who share their lives with us. And I knew they were going to freak out with the funk. So for all you Drew Estate heads out there, you know, you're going to try this guy's products, try it out. You're going to find some stuff you love, some stuff that's not right for you, whatever. But the funk is definitely something. I remember when I tried it, it was at a barn smoker. You had a bottle of it. And I was like, what is that? It was so funky and so good. So it was great to learn a little bit about it tonight. I also want to say to my friend, Jack, dude, I've traveled with you in cumulative weeks in Chicago. Your mom and dad, your wife, your family, spending so much time with you doing events at dozens of stores and dinners, giant Greek dinners where we'll invite 50 people from Binny's, Italian food, 40, 50, 60 people from Binny's, going crazy. And the way you treat your staff, you're a good king. And it's very nice to see you participating, and my guys love you. You know, so thank you for being with us tonight. You're not just a great consultant for cigars, but you're also a great heart. So I feel like, you know, and Robin, I'm getting to know you more. Joey's my partner already for 20 years, and Frank. This is a great group tonight. So I just really, that's it. I'm keeping my shit simple.
Yeah, good riddance.
Good
Keep
riddance.
it simple,
1 minute's up is 1 minute's up.
All right, so
Yo, wait a minute.
no.
Ask my man Joey really quick.
All right,
How he came out with the logo of the Undercrown, because that's
Oh,
a
man.
beautiful logo, man.
I mean, logos are logos, but the fun part was JD came up with the name, And it was like no brainer. You just see the name, like, yeah, it wasn't even, there was no battling around. No one said, oh, what about this? No, that was never an issue at all. It was just, no, it is Undercrown. It shares the lineage with Liga Privada. So the lion obviously focused into the head of the Liga Privada lion, changed it around and put the crown. The original crown was facing the other way, which was the obvious thing to do. Funny story is that after we had agreed on this logo and everybody's like, yeah, this is it, this is the one, we realized, no, it was a major hotel chain's logo. I won't mention the chain. And so we had to, oh my God, what are we going to do? We were all bought in on this logo. And so I just flipped it upside down. It makes the perfect sense, right? So jammed the thing upside down.
Ritz-Carlton.
Head and done.
Ritz-Carlton.
Oh. Yeah, so we avoided all that stuff. And then Undercrown was born, and it becomes a regal symbol that everybody can wear. It's a symbol for you to wear. You know, it's on the cigar, but I've seen people tattoo it on their arms. You know, people blasting it on everything they could put it on in their man caves and stuff. And it's awesome to see that. It's really cool.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome, man.
Thank you, Pedro, for taking over my show. I certainly appreciate it.
Somebody needs to.
Why are you bringing Nicaraguans to your show, buddy?
Bro, tú eres mi gente, bro. Coño,
I love you,
caballo.
bro. I got you right here in my heart, buddy.
Dude.
Yeah. Frank's getting nudged off the end of the bar.
Yeah, dude. I was just like, whatever, off the end. So Jack Spethman, I will say this. Undercrown Sungrown, Undercrown Shade. How are your consumers relating to this brand?
It's an interesting one because within the Undercrown line, you've just got something for everyone. And I'm not going to drop too many hints, but if you're in the Chicagoland and you want to try some of these, there may be a certain company that says things like DE for life that happen to be on sale until the end of the month. So if you want to hop in and give one of these pairings a try, just go for it. You know, stop in, talk to my guys, talk to all my consultants out there. And a lot of times in the cigar industry, the word family gets thrown around a lot, but I really do feel part of the Drew Estate family.
Well, you definitely are part of the DE family, Jack, and I want to thank you for that. I love you guys and everything you do for Drew Estate, and the fact that you make not only our products, but also Tumbling Dice and Deadwood and Redemption and hopefully Ambassador and the Funk, all those products available at your spot. And Chris Squaltney, if you're fucking paying attention, get this shit into Florida because we want this shit. You know, we want this shit. So Brotherhood of the Beard, pay attention. We want Deadwood, we want Tumbling Dice, we want the Senator, we want the Ambassador, we want the Funk. We want all of that. And we want to pair it with our delicious Undercrown. But guys, I have something special. I know it's freaking super late in the broadcast, but I've got something cool AF, if I may say.
Oh, wait a minute, bro.
So I've got something cool AF. So if I could get my freaking production company to roll a video right now about Year of the Rat. Let's So if you guys want to get a little piece of this sexiness right here, You're the Rat, make sure you get on a DE VSSSC. Depending on where you're at, this is the shit that you got to get on this freaking weekend. And because we're releasing this, and Saturday, we've got an amazing release party. So make sure you tune into Drew Estate Facebook Live. And we got the You're the Rat release party going on. June 11th, we have a freestyle live, which is all the shit that's going down for Drew Estate coming down June 11th. If you don't have it on your calendar, I'm not gonna say nothing else.
Bro, the thing is this, man. For everybody up there that wanna tune in our Drew Estate virtual event, this is the only way that you can get the Year of the Rat. We got the Year of the Rat as a complimentary smoke. We got the Year of the Rat that you once you get it, man. Once you post that cigar, smoking that cigar down, everybody will be like, "Holy smoke! The party's over. The year's done." Because what we got right here is the Year of the Rat coming all over to our Drew Diplomat accounts all over the United States. This one's gonna be live and available for you in our Drew Estate virtual event. I got my man Jonathan Drew.
Well,
I got my man Willie and everybody up there. Yes.
Right. So I've got mine. So I've got 10, bro. So if you find me in the 305, I got you. But other than that, ain't no one getting this. So you got to get on the Drew Estate VSSSC. So I'm moving into the Frankie Drinks section because I know we got people that want to win a freaking cutter by Zycar, and this shit is dope as F.
I'll be the judge of that.
All right, you do that thing. So Marco Maroya Jr., where did the name Redemption come from? So I'm gonna throw that to Dave Schmier. Where did Redemption come from, homie?
Where did it come from? Well, one, it's just a great name. You know, it makes you think of not returning your empties to the grocery store, but kind of making up for things in the past and bringing things back. For Mike and myself, well, we didn't know how big it was going to get. We knew it was going to be a winner. And after years of flailing around the industry, we felt it was our personal redemption and a little bit of a nod to the category, kind of redeeming the category as well.
Well, I love that. And thank you for the question. Congrats. You're going to win a Zycar Pappy Van Winkle cutter.
Congrats.
And thank you, Dave. I'm sure we'll get you one somehow, some way. But in the interim, Timothy Hardison, the UC Maduro pairs great with several drinks. What other DE sticks would you suggest pairing with Redemption? Well, I would definitely say the Liga T52 is a great pairing for a Redemption rye or any of the Tumbling Dice or Senator. If you find them, it just makes a great pairing. Anything that's high rye with a little spice note, remembering going back to what we talked about in like earlier episodes, that if you want to pair things that you want to either contrast or reiterate. So the idea is that you want to reiterate that spice note. So Redemption Rye, Tumbling Dice, Senator, all those. So Josh Ulam, congrats, man. You win a Pappy Van Winkle cutter, so congratulations. What classifies a whiskey as high rye? So I'm going to throw that over to Dave. Dave, what's a high rye whiskey, man?
It's a good question. When you're talking about bourbon, generally, your classic bourbons tend to have a lot of corn, 70 to 80%. So even something as maybe starting at around 20% rye will give it a high rye characteristic. You'll find some older bourbons that have very little rye, or maybe the same amount of rye as they do barley. And then obviously like a wheated bourbon will be a little bit smoother, more rounded edges. But generally they start at 20, and 36 is probably on the top end. But you'll find Bullet Bourbon's got a lot of rye in it. Some Wild Turkey, some others out there.
Well, thank you for that. That's kind of like, it's going to be based on, and I had an earlier episode where I talked about like traditional bourbons, and those were the high corn bourbons, and then there was going to be high rye bourbons, and I haven't gotten there yet, but great question. So our next question, Jeff LaFoe, congrats. How did the name of Undercrown become Undercrown, and was that the first choice? So I'm gonna hit Jonathan Drew with that, because I know he's all about the branding. So JD, how did Undercrown come about, homie? The name.
So Undercrown, I think that Joey and Pedro kind of touched on it a little bit, but the name was born from us asking the rollers at the factory floor to stop smoking so much of the Liga Privada. So when we didn't say to them, go, we're going to make a brand with what you create. They just started making various things. At first, we weren't paying much attention to it. They always are making blends and making different things. So after a while, there was these rumors, these gossip going on the factory floor, and about this blend that was so good, and everybody was blabbering. So we started to smoke it, and we were just like, this is ridiculous, this blend. And then we researched it, and what we realized, as Pedro said earlier, is, when you make a Liga Privada, some of the tobaccos that are used in Liga Privada were the tobaccos we said to them, you can use these tobaccos, but not this priming. So if we were using this Ligero for a top of the leaf plant, plant that's towards the top of the leaf for Liga, we said you can use the middle or the bottom. Or if we were using a bottom leaf of another plant, we would say you can use the middle or the top, but don't use the same position plant, position the leaf on the stalk. So what we realized was there was a deep connection to Liga Privada, but it was not the king, it was the prince. So Undercrown became like that Prince product, which was just, it was that underdog, that 50-cent kind of underdogs on top. So after a while, we were smoking so much Undercrowns. And you said something else, Pedro, is interesting, is after Liga Privada, we went 4 years before. Yes. 4 years before releasing another brand. For those people out there who are cigar smokers and who follow other companies, not just Drew Estate, everybody's releasing 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 brands a year, releasing everything they can think of. And we had gone 4 years without releasing a new brand. So this was a very big deal for us. When we brought Undercrown to market in the Maduro, which we fucked it up totally top to bottom because we over-humidified the cigars with the little stick inside the box. Were you jumping around, Frank?
No, I'm not. Go ahead.
So that's where the name came from. It was really all about being, it was that dichotomy of the prince to the king and the story behind it, because eventually the prince becomes the king. And with Undercrown, it has a lot of meaning that deeper than that, from Drew Estate being the smallest factory in the world to being the largest factory in Nicaragua and the second largest premium cigar factory in the world. Supposedly, I still believe it's the first, but some people are telling me it isn't, so I'm gonna deal with that. But that's it. It's that balance of life, and Undercrown name is a powerful name, and it was embedded in the power of the story, and it was embedded in the beautiful romantic feel that having your cigar rollers work so hard together to create something for themselves and not to get frustrated. They were adversity. We told them, hey, you can't smoke great cigar, and they battled through adversity and made something beautiful. And that's the Drew Estate story, you know. So I think it fits in perfect, you know, with our system.
Well, thanks, JD. I appreciate that. And our last question of the night, Mark D'Amore, he's posing a question. Do you see Maduro with the rye, but what do you suggest with a sun-grown? And I'm going to say, like, Robin, what do you think pairs well with a sun-grown? So it's like, we don't, like all sorts of things that could pair well with the sun-grown.
Yeah, well, being that I don't drink alcohol, I can only reference non-alcoholic beverages. I would say an iced tea or a hot tea is my go-to, but I would reference somebody else for an alcoholic beverage.
Sure.
Mezcal.
So I know Joey would go there, but Jack Spethman, what do you say goes with a sun-grown?
Almost anything will work with a sun-grown. For me, I like a barrel-aged beer. Something nice. You take a Goose Island Bourbon County Stout, let it sit for a little while, so you get that mellow. It's a great base. Then that Undercrown sun-grown comes up. You get a little of that spice, a little of that pepper, play off of each other. That's what I would do.
Nice. Fantastic. Pedro, sun-grown.
Joe, when it comes to sun-grown, bro, everything's about the emotional mood that you are in. So it could be anything, dude. As long as you want to smoke the Underground sun-grown, you can pair that thing with everything up there.
What about, Pedro, what about some Nicaraguan well water? Some fresh Nicaraguan well water with sun-grown.
Well, back in the days, I'm going to tell you like this, man.
Hershey squirt explosion.
When I used to go, growing up in Italy, people in Nicaragua, they drink their rum with Coca-Cola, okay? And one thing about this is that, that's the Cuba Libre in Cuba, and that's the Nicaragua Libre in Nicaragua. So if you get the hard liquor right there, something that you can pair it with, whatever you can put in your drink, as long as that make you happy, go for it, because nobody can tell you grown. You feel me right there? Yes, sir.
Well, with that, man, I've got my boy Joey waiting in the wings over there.
Oh, no. Well, I pair
so-
my sun-grown. Actually, I smoked one earlier. Sun-grown for me goes great with mezcal, of course.
All right. So
how-
what
how
mezcal
did you know?
are you having
Tonight it's
my
Ray
man?
Campero, Mexicano. Picked the Mexicano because of the connection to the Mexican Maduro of Undercrown Maduro. But when you talk about sun-grown, I really love that sharp spice that hits your palate. It goes great with an agave-based spirit, which gets that natural agave sweetness and all that other crazy, interesting flavors and a little bit of smokiness. It just really, for me, it pairs exquisitely, and it's my go-to. It's every time I'm sitting down, that's what I go for. Undercrown sun-grown, nice mezcal, sipping on it, just kicking back, and life is good.
Well, I'm gonna go with life is good, and I'm gonna raise my glass to all of you in the Zoom lounge. So raise a cup.
Cheers, brother.
And I want to thank all of you for being part of Sticks and Sips, episode 7. You guys were amazing. With that, I would say is, listen, we're coming out of COVID-19, so there's a lot of venues that are starting to open. Some are opening, some are not opening, but support those that support your estate, I would say. Support those that are coming along and getting you your spirits, your sips and your sticks, and above all, those that support your estate. So do your part. We're coming along slowly. Do your thing to support local businesses. places like Binny's and ABC's and Totals and Specs of the world that are still essential businesses that can get you your beautiful sips, your beautiful sticks, and we'll get out of this together. And sooner or later, Dave Schmier, we're going to be hanging out at the next Indie Spirits. Pedro will be at an ISSC together.
Hell yeah.
Jack, we will be together, and Robin, we will be together at an event at Binny's. And my man Joey will be hanging out and having a good time together. I certainly believe it. And this is the world we're in. So I would say is please follow us on Drew Estate Cigar. And you can follow me at Frankie_drinks, Instagram. You know where you're watching this on Facebook. So share it with each other. Next week, I've got an amazing show with the guys from Bitter Cube. So Dave, I know you know those guys. So Nick Kosovich is an amazing dude. So I want to do a special thanks right now to Dave. Thank you for being part of Sticks and Sips tonight.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for all the kind words.
Thanks a lot, Schmier.
Thank you.
Jack, awesome having you here. You know, as always, my man. You know, I can't wait to get back to Chicago, man. If there's a city, you know, listen, man, Second City, you know, because they got a lot of boys and that I need to visit in New York. But Chicago's right there, man. Chicago's right there. First city. I'm not going to argue. I love to see you guys. So, guys watching in Chicago, Carlos Cuarta, Nelson Vindel, Eric Garcia, all you guys are watching in Chicago. Thank you, man. I can't wait to see you again. And Pedro, my man.
Yo. I would like to thank everybody that tuning on Facebook, everybody that shared this video. This video is about love. This video is about passion. This video is about all the stories that every company, it doesn't matter, this is the liquor industry, it doesn't matter, this is the cigar industry. Every company out there has a humble beginning, and I would like to thank everybody out there, retailers and consumers, and everybody that support the stuff that you truly love. So live what you believe and live like this is your last day, because tomorrow nobody knows, but happiness is right now. Okay? So cheer for everybody. Hell yeah.
My man right there. Cheers to that. You know, I'm gonna let you take over the next. I need to take a vacation. So Pedro, I'm giving you an invitation to host Sticks and Sips. All on you, bro.
Man, if I host Sticks and Sips, I'm gonna get drunk before the show ends. No, but you know what? Seriously, I would like to
Really,
to thank everybody up there.
He's still
Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, from my people in Nicaragua, from my people in Esteli, thank you for every cigar that you smoke, every cigar that you recommend, every cigar that really represent your most intimate moment. I would like to thank you for that. Thank you so very much, okay?
Thank you, Pedro. My man, I love you, bro. You are the best, man. So my Zoom lounge guest.
Oh boy, listen up, man.
Yo, JD.
Get some Uber Eats. I'm fucking starving. Yo, Jack. See you later, Schmier. Goodbye.
See you later.
Good fucking riddance.
Later.
I'm leaving.
Good riddance.
Good riddance.
All right. So JD's out. Joey, thank you so much for being part of Six and Sips, man. I love you, brother.
Love you too, kid. I will see you soon.
Absolutely. Robin, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's always amazing having you here. You know, even though these guys talk so much, we give you very little time.
That's okay.
You know, we love you. Retail specialist for Binny's. So if you're in the Chicago area, you got a question, hit up Robin. She's our golden child in the Chicago area with Binny's and with Jack. And with that, you know, Jack, you know, man, I said thanks enough, but I always appreciate you being part of Six and Sips.
I love when you guys have me on. It's always a pleasure to come out here and chill out with everyone. And I look forward to seeing Robin in our stores. I look forward to my customers being able to ask Robin questions because Robin's been knocking it out of the park. So guys, come in, talk to my consultants, see what you can do. Maybe, I don't know, buy a Drew Estate cigar or two. Anyway, yeah, thanks. Cheers. You guys are the best.
Salute, brother.
Cheers.
So with that, thanks to the Drew Estate marketing team. You guys are freaking amazing for making Six Sips possible. And the entire Drew Estate family, from the sales force to the warehouse to the factory to the leadership. You guys are doing an amazing job of keeping us relevant during this time. I know we're slowly coming out of it, but we're here for you. And with that, I want to say cheers. And next week, I've got Nick Kosovich from Bitter Cube Bitters. We're going to be talking Acid 20. This is going to be the most epic episode ever. But thank you for everyone that was part of this. Thank you for everyone that tuned in. I say cheers to you. And with that, Jack here, our massive production master, Ron, and David Torres, you guys were awesome to make everything happen. Cheers to you, man. With that, I'm out. Bars closed, man. Make a tip to USBG National Foundation. I love you guys. See you next week.